Florida's insurance industry would really rather you never ran this particular comparison, because once you learn that the state's own insurance company charges one homeowner $4,380 a year and another homeowner $836 a year for the same product, in the same state, under the same rules, you start to realize that your premium is not really about your house at all. It is about a line on a map. This is 12 Florida towns where home insurance is still genuinely affordable, ranked using Citizens Property Insurance County data from April of 2026. And I want to explain why I am using that data specifically, because it matters. Citizens is the state-created insurer of last resort. Its premiums are public, and they are calculated consistently across all 67 counties, which makes it the only clean apples-to-apples comparison anyone can actually run. Private quotes bounce around based on your roof and your elevation. The Citizens number tells you what the county itself costs. On this list, we have got a town that let a mayonnaise company temporarily rename it for cash. A county with not one single traffic light that also claims to be the most haunted place in the American South. A town where a retired lawyer bought land, declared it the literal Garden of Eden, and then charged people admission to walk around it. A county that only exists because some commissioners refuse to build a road. And at number 1, the cheapest county to insure a home in the entire state of Florida, which is not out in the swamp somewhere. It is a half hour from a major city. If this video stops you from buying a beautiful house you cannot afford to insure, hit subscribe. That is the whole deal. Let's count it down. Number 12, Trenton, Gilchrist County. Average Citizens premium $1,209 a year. Gilchrist County exists out of pure spite, and I mean that as the highest compliment I can pay a place. In 1925, people living in the western end of Alachua County wanted a road. A proper road running from the Suwannee River through Trenton and onto Gainesville, which was their county seat, and which sat over 40 miles away on the kind of roads that made 40 miles feel like 100. They asked the county commission. The commission said no. So the residents drew up plans for an entirely new county and showed them to the commission as a threat. The commission laughed at them. The vote came back 267 to 21 in favor of leaving. On December 4, 1925, Governor John Martin signed it into law, and Florida got its 67th county. It has not gotten another one since. Gilchrist is the last county Florida ever made, and it was born because some men in a room would not build a road. It was almost called Melon County, by the way, because watermelons were the main crop. The name only changed when former Governor Albert Gilchrist died, and they decided to honor him instead. So we came within one funeral of Florida having a Melon County. Trenton itself was originally called Joppa. It got renamed by an 18-year-old Confederate soldier named Ben Boyd, who had been run out of Trenton, Tennessee, after what most accounts politely describe as a racetrack brawl. He turned up in North Florida and just started calling the place Trenton, and it stuck so thoroughly that the post office made it official in 1883. For your money today, you get a county of about 20,000 people and the Santa Fe River running along its northern edge with some of the best springs in the state on it. Ginny Springs, Hart Springs, and Gilchrist Blue Springs, which became a state park in 2017. Clear water, 72 degrees all year. The honest caveat is medical. Gainesville is about 40 minutes away, and that is where your specialists are. 40 minutes is fine for a knee. It is a long 40 minutes for a heart. Number 11, Green Cove Springs, Clay County. $1,189 a year. Clay County is what happens when a county sits close enough to a city to have a hospital and a Costco, but far enough inland that the wind maps stop caring about it. It is tucked under the southwest corner of Jacksonville on the western bank of the St. Johns River, and Green Cove Springs is its seat. The town is named for exactly what you think it is named for. There is a spring right in the middle of town, and the water comes out of it at a steady temperature every day of the year, regardless of what the weather is doing. In the late 1800s, this made Green Cove Springs a genuine winter resort, the kind of place northerners came by steamboat to sit in warm mineral water and feel better about their lives. What gets me about Clay County is the numbers underneath. Typical home value is around $336,000, which is not cheap. This is not a bargain bin county, and the insurance is still under $1,200 a year because the premium is not tracking the house. It is tracking the distance to open water and the wind zone. That is the single most useful thing on this entire list, so let me say it plainly. In Florida, you are not paying for your house, you are paying for your coordinates. Number 10, Callahan, Nassau County, $1,159 a year. Nassau County is the strangest entry on this list, and I nearly cut it, because on paper it makes no sense at all. Nassau County has a coastline, it has Amelia Island, it has Fernandina Beach. Its typical home value is $482,000, the highest of anywhere in this countdown by a wide margin. And its average citizen's premium is under $1,200. The answer is that a county is not one thing. Nassau's average is being held down by everywhere in the county that is not the beach. Places like Callahan and Hilliard, sitting inland along US Highway 1 and State Road 200, surrounded by pine plantation, 30 miles from the surf, and about 20 feet higher than the people paying triple. Callahan is a railroad town of about 1,500 people that grew up around a junction. It has a restored 1981 depot, a downtown you can walk end to end in about 4 minutes, and a location that puts you 40 minutes from downtown Jacksonville and about the same from the Georgia line. Here is the caveat, and for Nassau County, it is a big one. A county average is a blunt instrument. If you buy on Amelia Island, you are not getting the county average, you are getting an island quote, and it will not be under $1,200. This entry only works if you stay inland. The moment you can smell salt, the math changes. Number 9, Monticello, Jefferson County, $1,152 a year. Monticello was founded in 1827, which makes it older than most of the state, and it is built around a roundabout where US 19 and US 90 by cross in the middle of town. In the center of that roundabout sits the Jefferson County Courthouse, which was modeled on Thomas Jefferson's house. The town is named after the house, too. They went all in on the theme. Jefferson County proudly advertises that it does not have a single stoplight. Not one in the entire county. When I first drove through, I kept waiting for one out of pure habit and never got it. And then there is the branding. Monticello calls itself the most haunted small town in the South, and unlike most towns that say that, Monticello actually leans in. There are ghost walks running year-round, guides carrying EMF meters and dowsing rods, and cemetery walks you book by request. The 1890 Opera House, built by a businessman named John Perkins, has 311 seats and a persistent story that Perkins himself still occupies one of the box seats. Whether or not you believe that, the acoustics are apparently excellent, which is a very Monticello way to sell a haunting. In June, the town runs the Jefferson County Watermelon Festival, which has been going since 1949 and includes a Miss Watermelon pageant, a parade, and a bed race, which is exactly what it sounds like. Contestants push actual beds with actual people lying on them toward a finish line. So, to summarize Jefferson County, no traffic lights, competitive furniture racing, and homeowners insurance for less than $1,200. Tallahassee is 24 miles west when you need a hospital. Number 8, Stark, Bradford County, $1,033 a year. Bradford County did not start as Bradford County. It was created in 1858 as New River County, carved out of pieces of Columbia and Alachua. Then it spent decades in an argument with itself about where the county seat should go, moving the courthouse back and forth until 1887, when it landed in Starkey and finally stayed there. The fight got ugly enough that in 1921, the state legislature simply cut the western half off and made it Union County, which today is the smallest county in Florida by land area at 240 square miles. That is a county that argued so much it got amputated. Stark sits on US Route 301, and if you have ever driven from Jacksonville toward Ocala, you have been through it, probably while watching your speedometer very carefully. Ask anyone in North Florida about Stark, and speed enforcement comes up within about 9 seconds. The county's other defining feature is heavier. Florida State Prison is located in an unincorporated part of Bradford County. It is the state's death row facility, and it has shaped the local economy and the local identity in ways that are hard to summarize in a real estate video. Corrections is a major employer here. That is just the fact of the place. Typical home value is $257,000, and the insurance is barely $1,000. Gainesville is about 40 minutes southwest for real medical care. If you are finding this useful, do me a favor and hit the like button. It genuinely helps this video reach the people who are about to make a very expensive mistake in Sarasota. The top 5 get significantly stranger, so stick around. Number 7, Madison, Madison County, $1,028 a year. Madison sits in the middle of the stretch of Interstate 10 that most people treat as the boring part between Tallahassee and Jacksonville, which is exactly why it stays cheap. This is deep North Florida, rolling farmland, oaks, red clay showing through in the cuts. Culturally, it is far more southern Georgia than it is Miami, and the people there will tell you that themselves without any prompting. Typical home value is $213,000, which is the second lowest number on this entire list. Combine that with insurance at just over $1,000 a year, and the total monthly cost of owning a house here starts to look like something from a different decade. The county's other asset is water. Madison Blue Spring on the Withlacoochee River is a first-magnitude spring, and it is genuinely one of the prettiest swimming holes in the state, which is a competitive category in Florida. The caveat here is jobs and services rather than storms. This is a small rural county, and if you are not retired or fully remote, the local economy is thin. Tallahassee is about an hour west. Number 6, High Springs, Alachua County, $1,020 a year. Alachua County is the outlier on this list because it is not empty. It has 140,000 people in Gainesville, a major research university, and a teaching hospital with the kind of specialists that most of the counties on this list do not have within an hour's drive. And it still has some of the cheapest insurance in Florida. That combination is rare enough that if I had to move to Florida tomorrow and I cared about both my premium and my cardiologist, this is where I would start looking. High Springs is the town I would look at first. It sits about 25 minutes northwest of Gainesville, near where the Santa Fe River goes underground at Oleno, and comes back up 3 miles later, which is a thing Florida rivers do, and which never stops being unsettling. The downtown is brick and small and full of antique shops. The surrounding area is basically a Springs delivery system with Ginny, Poe, Osaha, Blue, and Rum Island, all within a short drive. The trade-off is that this is the one county on the list where the secret is already partly out. Typical home value is over $308,000, and it has been climbing, because a lot of people have quietly worked out that Alachua County is where you get the university, the hospital, the springs, and a $1,000 insurance bill in the same place. Number 5, Lake City, Columbia County, $1,009 a year. Lake City sits at the junction of Interstate 75 and Interstate 10, which makes it one of the most connected small cities in Florida. And it sits at roughly 170 feet above sea level, which makes it one of the highest. That elevation is doing quiet, enormous work on your premium. Storm surge is the single most destructive thing a hurricane does to a house, and storm surge is a water problem, which means it is an elevation and distance problem. At 170 feet and 60 miles inland, surge is not a risk you are pricing. It is a risk that physically cannot reach you. The town was not always called Lake City. It was originally named Alligator, after a Seminole leader known as Alligator Warrior. The story that gets told locally is that the mayor's wife refused to hang curtains in a town called Alligator, and around 1859, the council gave in and changed it. Lake City also has the distinction of the most modern possible small-town crisis. In 2019, hackers locked up the city's entire computer system with ransomware, and the city ended up paying roughly $480,000 in Bitcoin to get its own files back. No wind, no water, no roof damage. Just a city government negotiating with someone in a chat window. Now let me be straight with you about something, because I am not going to sell you a town I have not been honest about. Lake City has real crime numbers, and they are not small ones. That interstate junction moves more than tourists. If you are looking here, look neighborhood by neighborhood rather than at the city as a whole, and talk to people who actually live on the street you are considering. Number 4, Tallahassee, Leon County, $990 a year. Here is the entry that breaks most people's mental model of Florida, because Tallahassee is not a village. It is the state capital, it has 2 universities, it has hospitals, an airport, restaurants that stay open past 9, and roughly 200,000 people. And its average citizen's premium is under $1,000 a year. Meanwhile, Monroe County, down in the Keys, averages $4,380. That is 4.5 times more expensive in the same state from the same insurer. Tallahassee sits in the hills of the Panhandle, and it does have hills with canopy roads where live oaks have grown together over the pavement into green tunnels. The city is about 25 miles from the coast, which sounds close, but the geometry of the Big Bend means storms have to work much harder to deliver surge here than they do to almost anywhere else on the Gulf. The caveat, and it is a real one, is trees. Tallahassee's beauty is also its exposure. Those enormous old canopy oaks come down in tropical systems, and when they come down, they land on roofs and on power lines. The city has taken serious hits from weakened storms coming up out of the Gulf and lost power for days. Inland is not the same as untouched, and anybody who tells you otherwise has not sat through a September in Leon County. Number 3, Mayo, Lafayette County, $972 a year. Mayo has about 1,200 people, sits roughly halfway between Tallahassee and Gainesville, and in August of 2018, it briefly stopped being called Mayo at all. Kraft Heinz, which owns Miracle Whip, approached Mayor Ann Murphy with a proposal. The town would temporarily rename itself Miracle Whip in exchange for somewhere between $15,000 and $25,000 in city beautification funds. The catch was that the residents could not be told it was temporary because the whole point was to film their reactions. So the town gathered for a big announcement. A Kraft executive stood up and publicly insulted mayonnaise for being plain and boring. And then the mayor declared that Mayo would henceforth and permanently be known as Miracle Whip. They changed the street signs. They changed the water tower. The plan had one structural weakness, which the town clerk identified immediately when reporters asked her about it. Her point was that in a town this size, everybody already knows everything about everybody, so keeping a secret was never realistically on the table. Some residents thought it was funny. At least one publicly called it a slap in the face. The town got its beautification money, the water tower went back to saying Mayo, and Lafayette County went back to being the second cheapest place in Florida to insure a house. The caveat is severe isolation. Lafayette County has roughly 8,000 people in the whole thing. There is no hospital here. Whatever you need, you are driving to get it. Number 2, Bristol, Liberty County, $922 a year. Liberty County is the least populous county in Florida. About 8,000 people spread across 843 square miles, which works out to roughly 9.5 people per square mile. The Apalachicola National Forest covers an enormous share of it. Bristol, with about 900 residents, is the only incorporated city in the entire county. It is also, for what it is worth, Florida's only dry county, and in the 1950s, a retired lawyer and Baptist minister named L.V. Calloway decided that this was where the Garden of Eden had been. He was serious. He started campaigning in 1956, and his argument was geographic. Genesis describes 4 rivers flowing out of Eden, and Calloway pointed out that the Apalachicola splits into 4, which he claimed was unique in the world apart from one river in Siberia. He worked through the biblical numbers 1, 4, and 7 and found meaning in them. He decided that the torreya, a rare tree that grows on the bluffs here and almost nowhere else on Earth, was the gopher wood that Noah built the ark from. Then he did the most American thing possible with a religious revelation. He bought the land, turned it into an attraction, and charged admission. Visitors paid a fee to walk the property and view 27 of the 28 trees Calloway believed corresponded to trees in Eden. He died in 1981. The Nature Conservancy took the land and turned it into the Apalachicola Bluffs and Ravines Preserve, protecting more than 6,000 acres of steephead ravines and rare plants. But they kept his names. To this day, you can drive down Garden of Eden Road and hike the Garden of Eden Trail, and the trail is legitimately beautiful, with deep shaded ravines that look nothing like anyone's idea of Florida. 13 miles north sits Torreya State Park, 13,700 acres of bluffs over the Apalachicola River, designated a National Natural Landmark in 1976. The caveat is exactly what you would expect. There is no hospital, there is very little work, and the nearest real city is Tallahassee, about 50 miles east. You are trading services for a $900 insurance bill and a lot of trees. Before I give you number 1, subscribe if you have not already. This channel does the parts of moving to Florida that the listings leave out every single week, and the number 1 county on this list genuinely surprised me. Number 1, McClenny, Baker County, $836 a year, the cheapest county to insure a home in the state of Florida. Here is why this is the entry that matters, and why I put it at the top instead of somewhere out in the forest. Every other cheap county in Florida buys its low premium with isolation. You get $900 insurance and you give up hospitals, jobs, and grocery stores. Baker County does not make you do that. Baker County is part of the Jacksonville metropolitan area. McClenny sits just west of Jacksonville on Interstate 10. You are roughly half an hour from a major American city with an international airport, and the median household income in the county runs around $70,800, which is not the profile of a place that is struggling. You are paying 1/5 of what a homeowner in the Keys pays, and you are still inside a metro area. McClenny has about 7,300 people and sits at 131 feet of elevation. It was originally called Darbyville after the family that owned most of the land, and then it was renamed after Carbowers McClenny, who married into that family, bought the land, and intended to cut the timber off it. The county's real historical weight is a few miles west. On February 20th, 1864, more than 10,000 soldiers fought a 5-hour battle in the Pine Woods near Olustee. It was the largest Civil War battle ever fought in Florida. The Union force marched west out of McClenny that morning with 5,500 men and 16 cannon, and lost roughly 1,861 men killed, wounded, or captured against Confederate losses of about 949. The Confederate victory kept the interior of Florida under Confederate control for the rest of the war. There is a reenactment every February at Olustee Battlefield Historic State Park. Footage shot during those reenactments has been used in Civil War films, including Glory in 1989, which means some of the soldiers on screen in that movie are North Florida locals with the weekend off. The honest picture on Baker County is that it is small and it is conservative and it is not trying to be anything else. 28,000 people, a lot of pine, a lot of Osceola National Forest, and a county seat where the courthouse is still the tallest thing in view. Now, 3 things before you go quoting these numbers at an agent, because I would rather you were annoyed at me now than surprised later. First, these are Citizens averages, not quotes. Citizens is the insurer of last resort and its rates are set by county, so it is a clean way to rank places, and it is a realistic floor. Your actual private quote will move around that number based on your specific house. Second, the thing that moves it most is your roof. Once a roof passes 15 years, carriers in Florida increasingly cover it at actual cash value instead of replacement cost, which means depreciation comes off the payout, and on an old asphalt roof that can cut what you receive by more than half. Past 20 to 25 years, your options narrow sharply. Florida law does give you a right here, though. Once a roof passes 15 years, you can pay for an inspection, and if that inspection documents at least 5 years of remaining useful life, age alone is no longer a valid reason for a carrier to refuse you. If your premium jumped and you cannot work out why, check how old your roof is. That is usually the whole answer. Third, flood is not in any of these numbers. Flood insurance is a completely separate policy, and every single town on this list still sits near a river, a spring system, or a floodplain. Pull the FEMA flood map for the specific parcel, not the town. And one genuinely good piece of news, because the last few years have not had much of it. The Florida market has turned. The reforms passed in the special session of December 2022, and the tort package in 2023 eliminated one-way attorney fees and banned post-loss assignment of benefits, and litigation filings have fallen sharply since. Citizens has gone from about 1.4 million policies at its peak in late 2023 to roughly 336,000 by early 2026, as private carriers took back homes they would not have touched a few years ago. Around 17 new property insurers have entered the state, and for the first time in over a decade, Citizens filed a rate decrease, averaging 8.7% statewide starting with spring 2026 renewals. Florida is still the most expensive state in the country to insure a house. That has not changed, but the direction finally has. So that is the list. 12 places where the line on the map is on your side instead of against you. If you want more of this, the parts of Florida the brochures, skip, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me which county you would actually move to. I will see you in the next one.